10. He never planned to be an actor. Believe it or not, Hugh Jackman almost missed Hollywood altogether. Growing up in Sydney, Australia, Jackman was not dreaming of red carpets or superhero costumes. He wanted to be outdoors, and his earliest career ambitions were incredibly ordinary. He thought about being a chef, a traveler, even a journalist. In fact, he studied communications at the University of Technology, Sydney, with a focus on journalism. Acting was number T, even on his radar until his final year of university when he needed to fill extra credits and, on a whim, signed up for a drama class. That single decision completely changed the trajectory of his life. Jackman quickly realized he had a natural presence on stage. His professors and classmates encouraged him, telling him he had charisma that simply couldn't be taught. Imagine if he had never enrolled in that class. Hollywood's Wolverine might never have existed. After graduation, Jackman took another bold step. He auditioned for the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts in Perth. Getting accepted there was tough, but he did, and it was there that he sharpened his craft, training in both acting and singing. What's fascinating is that Jackman was almost embarrassed about pursuing acting at first. In Australia at the time, it wasn't seen as a secure career. But his passion grew stronger every day, and once he graduated, he landed television roles, stage musicals, and eventually international recognition. This last-minute pivot story is one that resonates with many Americans who stumble into their life, AES, calling by accident, whether it as a college athlete switching majors or a young entrepreneur discovering coding because of a required elective. Jackman's journey reminds us that sometimes the biggest doors open when you least expect it, and having the courage to step through can change your destiny. And here's a little extra twist. If he hadn't gotten into acting, Jackman has said he probably would have been a teacher. In fact, he worked as a physical education teacher at Uppingham School in England during a student exchange program in the 1980s. Can you imagine Wolverine in gym shorts, blowing a whistle and telling kids to run laps? It's a mental picture that perfectly captures how unpredictable careers can be. The world didn't get a PE teacher, it got a movie legend. Number 9. Wolverine was supposed to be someone else. Here is the shocker. Hugh Jackman wasn't even the first choice to play Wolverine in the X-Men movies. The role that would define his career almost slipped away. Originally, the part went to Scottish actor Dougray Scott. Scott had the look, the intensity, and was set to become the clawed mutant on the big screen. But fate intervened. Scott was filming Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise, and production delays made it impossible for him to join X-Men. At the very last minute, the casting team scrambled to find a replacement. That's when Hugh Jackman's name appeared. Even then, the studio wasn't convinced. Jackman was relatively unknown outside Australia, where he had appeared in musicals like Oklahoma and some local TV shows. He was taller than Wolverine's comic book depiction, and his background in theater made some executives nervous. But director Bryan Singer saw something unique in him, a ferocity mixed with vulnerability that fit the character perfectly. Jackman auditioned, and within weeks, he was on set in Canada, trying on claws for the first time. Here's the catch. Jackman didn't fully understand Wolverine when he started. He spent nights reading comic books, learning about the character's tortured past and animal-like instincts. In fact, he was so unsure of how to play him that during the first 2 weeks of filming, he seriously considered quitting. He thought he was going to be fired. But then he had a breakthrough moment, watching wolves in a documentary. He noticed their movements, the way they hunched, sniffed, and exploded into violence when needed. Jackman incorporated those animalistic traits into Wolverine's posture and presence, and suddenly, the character clicked. The rest is history. X-Men exploded in 2000, launching Hugh Jackman into global superstardom. He would go on to play Wolverine for nearly 2 decades, appearing in 9 films and setting a Guinness World Record for the longest career as a live-action Marvel superhero. For many fans, Jackman is Wolverine, and it's impossible to imagine anyone else in the role. The irony, he almost never had it. This story isn't just Hollywood trivia. It is a reminder of how much luck and timing shape careers. Think about it. If Mission Impossible 2 had wrapped on time, we might have had a completely different Wolverine and maybe no Hugh Jackman as we know him today. It's like in sports when a rookie only gets their shot because a veteran is injured, and then they go on to become a Hall of Famer. Jackman's story is a case study in being ready for the opportunity when it comes, even if it wasn't meant for you. And Jackman himself has always been humble about it. He often says that he owes his career to that twist of fate. Instead of acting entitled, he's grateful. That gratitude, combined with his relentless work ethic, helped him sustain a career that could have easily burned out after a single blockbuster. It also proves something powerful. Sometimes the role that changes your life is the one you weren't even supposed to have. For 8, he's a Broadway superstar. At heart, when most people think of Hugh Jackman, they picture claws, leather jackets, and action sequences. But the truth is, before he ever became an international action icon, he was, and still is, a Broadway guy at heart. Hugh Jackman's roots are deeply planted in the world of musical theater. That might seem like a contradiction, but it's exactly what makes him so fascinating. Jackman first got global attention on stage in 1998 when he starred as Curly in a Royal National Theatre production of Oklahoma in London's West End. Audiences were stunned. This tall Australian with a magnetic smile and a booming voice carried the show with such power that critics started paying close attention. It wasn't just singing. It was the way he combined acting, charm, and physical presence into a complete package. Broadway casting directors knew instantly. This man was built for the stage. But it wasn't just a passing phase. Even after conquering Hollywood, Jackman kept returning to musicals. He headlined The Boy from Oz on Broadway, where he played Australian singer-songwriter Peter Allen. That role earned him a Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical in 2004. Audiences and critics alike were dazzled by his energy. He could belt out a ballad, crack a joke, and dance across the stage all without breaking a sweat. Americans who only knew him as Wolverine suddenly realized this guy's talents went far beyond mutant growls and action stunts. It gets better. Jackman has hosted the Tony Awards multiple times, earning a reputation as one of the best MCs in the show's history. He could roast celebrities, sing parodies, and keep the night flowing with pure charisma. And who can forget when he hosted the Oscars in 2009? His opening number was legendary. Part satire, part Broadway spectacular. Even the toughest critics admitted that Jackman's stage flair elevated an event that often feels stiff. The Broadway side of Jackman isn't just entertainment. It shows a core truth about him. He never boxed himself into one identity. While many actors get trapped in the action hero niche, Jackman proved he could do both. He could headline Les Miserables and earn an Academy Award nomination for singing Bring Him Home, and then turn around and slice through enemies as Wolverine. That duality is rare. It also reflects something deeply American in spirit: versatility. In the U.S., we love people who break molds, who refuse to be defined by one label. Jackman's ability to thrive in two opposite worlds, musicals and action films, explains why his fan base is so broad. Your grandmother might adore him from Les Miserables, while your nephew worships him as Wolverine. That's the magic of Hugh Jackman. And don't forget, he's still performing. In 2019, Jackman launched The Man, the music, the show, a worldwide concert tour where he performed songs from musicals, movies, and Broadway. Packed arenas watched him sing and dance for hours. Think about that. An action star filling arenas not with explosions but with show tunes. That's a career arc almost nobody else could pull off. Number 7. His marriage is one of Hollywood's most unusual love stories. In a town where marriages often collapse under the weight of fame, Hugh Jackman's love story is something out of a fairy tale. Yet it started in the most down-to-earth way possible. Back in 1995, before Wolverine, before Broadway's stardom, Jackman was a struggling actor who landed a role on an Australian TV show called Corelli. On set, he met actress Deborah Lee Furness, who was already a respected star in Australia. Jackman was a newcomer, she was the seasoned professional. Most people assumed it would be a short-lived fling. But within months, Hugh knew she was the one. Here's what makes the story special. Jackman proposed just 4 months after they met, and by 1996, they were married. Hollywood whispered that it wouldn't last. After all, she was 13 years older than him. The tabloids pounced, saying the age gap would doom them. But Hugh Jackman didn't care. He has repeatedly said in interviews that meeting Deb was the best thing that ever happened to him. He even designed her engagement ring himself and had the Sanskrit phrase Om Paramar Mainamar engraved inside their wedding bands, meaning, "We dedicate our union to a greater source." Decades later, their bond remained one of the strongest in Hollywood. Jackman credited Deb for keeping him grounded during the chaos of superstardom. While he was off filming X-Men or The Greatest Showman, she reminded him to focus on family, not fame. In fact, Jackman has often joked that his wife is the real star of the family. They adopted 2 children together, Oscar and Ava, building a private life far removed from Hollywood's wild scene. What's striking is how publicly affectionate Jackman has always been. He never hid his love life or played the bachelor card to boost his marketability. At award shows, he thanked his wife first. On red carpets, he held her hand proudly. That kind of devotion stands out in an industry famous for divorces and scandals. Unfortunately, in 2023, after nearly 3 decades together, Hugh and Deborah Lee announced their separation. For fans, it was heartbreaking, but they emphasized that the decision was mutual, respectful, and rooted in a desire to continue growing individually. What remains undeniable is the example they set for years, that fame doesn't have to ruin relationships, and that love can thrive even under Hollywood's brightest, most unforgiving lights. Their marriage also shows something deeper about Hugh Jackman's character. He never chased the stereotypical Hollywood image. He valued stability, family, and loyalty over scandal and headlines. In a way, that made him even more attractive to fans. Americans admire celebrities who seem human, who commit to values we can relate to. Jackman's marriage, with all its ups and downs, proved that beneath the stardom, he's still a man who values connection above everything else. Think about it. Here's a guy who could have easily leaned into fame, excesses, endless parties, shallow romances, tabloid fodder. Instead, he built a family, kept it private, and showed the world a different model of what a Hollywood marriage could look like. Whether you measure it in years together, in loyalty, or in resilience, Hugh Jackman's love story is one of the most unusual and inspiring in the industry. Yarn 6. He nearly lost his voice. Forever. You might think of Hugh Jackman's muscles, his claws, his Wolverine roar, but his voice is just as iconic, and at one point he almost lost it forever. Jackman is known for booming baritone vocals on Broadway and in movies like Les Miserables and The Greatest Showman. But what most fans don't know is that years of performing at full throttle nearly destroyed his vocal cords. Back in the mid-2000s, Jackman was cast in stage productions and rehearsed for hours every day. Add to that the yelling, grunting, and growling required for Wolverine, and his voice was under constant strain. During one rehearsal, his voice gave out completely. Doctors warned him that he had nodules on his vocal cords, similar to what singers like Adele and Julie Andrews have faced. For a Broadway star, that's career-ending. Jackman was devastated, but instead of accepting defeat, he threw himself into vocal training. He worked with specialists in New York and Sydney, learning techniques to protect his instrument. He practiced breath control, resonance exercises, and hydration routines religiously. This wasn't vanity. It was survival. Without his voice, he couldn't sing, perform, or even convincingly growl as Wolverine. His dedication paid off. Not only did he recover, but his voice arguably became stronger. By the time he performed Bring Him Home in Les Miserables, critics were blown away. American audiences who knew him mostly from action films were stunned to hear such delicate control in his singing. One reviewer even wrote, "It's as if Wolverine transformed into a choir boy mid-scene." That moment earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, proving that his voice was not just a bonus, it was a central part of his artistry. This story resonates with a lot of Americans who push themselves too hard at work and risk burnout. Jackman's scare reminds us that talent must be protected like any other muscle. Whether you're an athlete rehabbing a knee, a teacher preserving energy, or a singer guarding your voice, longevity comes from discipline. Jackman's recovery shows that resilience, not luck, is what sustains greatness. Even today, he still warms up before interviews, carefully avoids shouting, and is meticulous about vocal health. It's not just about singing, it's about respecting the craft. And that discipline is one of the secrets behind his decades-long success. Number 5. He battled skin cancer multiple times. Hugh Jackman may look invincible on screen, but in real life he has faced one of the scariest diagnoses: skin cancer. Growing up in Australia, one of the sunniest countries in the world, Jackman spent much of his youth outdoors without sunscreen. By the time he became an international star, the damage was already done. In 2013, fans noticed a bandage on his nose during an interview. He later revealed that he had been diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, the most common form of skin cancer. His wife, Deborah Lee Furness, was the one who pushed him to get it checked after she noticed a suspicious spot. Doctors confirmed the cancer, and Jackman underwent surgery. He thought it was over, but it wasn't. Over the next several years, Jackman had at least 6 more procedures to remove recurring skin cancers. Each time, he was open about it, posting photos with bandages on his face and using his platform to warn fans. He urged people, especially Australians and Americans, to wear sunscreen and get regular checkups. "Don't be like me," he tweeted. "Use sunscreen. Get checked." What's powerful about this fact is how Jackman turned vulnerability into advocacy. Most celebrities hide their health struggles, but Jackman went public to save lives. He even joked about it, telling reporters, "The irony is, I play Wolverine, a guy who heals instantly, but in real life, not so much." That mix of honesty and humor made the message hit home. Skin cancer awareness is a big issue in the U.S., especially in sunny states like California, Florida, and Texas. Jackman's openness helped break down the stigma of talking about cancer. Fans who might have ignored small spots on their skin went to doctors because of him. In that way, he may have saved countless lives without ever knowing it. Jackman continues to be vigilant. Even in recent years, he's shared updates when he goes for checkups. He admits it's a lifelong battle, but one he's committed to fighting. This fact shows a different side of Hugh Jackman. Not the invincible superhero, but a real man confronting mortality. And instead of hiding it, he uses his platform to spread awareness. That makes him heroic in a whole new way. It also speaks to why audiences connect so deeply with him. We don't just admire his performances, we admire his humanity. When a superstar admits vulnerability, it makes us feel less alone in our own struggles. Jackman E.S.'s fight with skin cancer is a reminder that even the strongest-looking people can face invisible battles, and that courage is found in honesty. Number 4. He holds a Guinness World Record for Wolverine. When you think of superheroes, most actors get a handful of films, maybe a trilogy if they're lucky. But Hugh Jackman took Wolverine to an entirely different level. He didn't just play the character, he became synonymous with it. For nearly 20 years, Jackman was Wolverine, appearing in 9 films, including the original X-Men in 2000, and ending with the critically acclaimed Logan in 2017. That dedication earned him a Guinness World Record, the longest career as a live-action Marvel superhero. Think about that for a second. In a time when actors rotate in and out of superhero franchises faster than seasons of a TV show, Jackman stayed consistent for almost 2 decades. He aged with the role, showing Wolverine's rage in the early years, his conflicted humanity in the Wolverine, and finally, his heartbreaking decline in Logan. Fans grew up with him. For kids in the early 2000s, Wolverine was their introduction to superheroes. For adults in the 2010s, Logan was the perfect farewell to a character they had followed for half their lives. Jackman himself admitted that it wasn't always easy. The physical transformation required for Wolverine was brutal. Months of weight training, strict diets, dehydration before shirtless scenes. It was grueling. In interviews, he revealed tricks like drinking gallons of water and then cutting fluid intake before filming to make his muscles look more defined. He would wake up at 4 a.m. to train before shooting started, day after day. That kind of discipline explains why his Wolverine physique became legendary. The Guinness record isn't just a number. It symbolizes loyalty to a character and to fans. While some actors get tired of being typecast, Jackman embraced it. He found ways to keep Wolverine fresh, evolving, and emotionally compelling. That's why audiences never got sick of him. Even now, years after retiring from the role, Marvel fans still chant for his return whenever new X-Men movies are announced. There's also a deeper point here about endurance. In America, we celebrate athletes who play their entire careers with one team, workers who dedicate decades to their craft, and veterans who serve long tours of duty. Jackman's Guinness record fits into that cultural admiration for longevity. He wasn't just passing through, he stuck it out, built something iconic, and left behind a legacy that will be hard to top. And let's be honest, if Marvel called tomorrow, most fans believe Hugh Jackman would dust off the claws one more time. The record might stand, but his emotional connection to Wolverine will never fade. For millions of people, there simply is no Wolverine without Hugh Jackman. Number 3. He's one of Hollywood's most generous philanthropists. It's one thing to succeed in Hollywood, it's another to use that success to give back. Hugh Jackman has done both. Behind the blockbuster roles and Broadway lights, he's quietly built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most generous philanthropists. Jackman co-founded the Laughing Man Coffee Company in 2011, inspired by a trip to Ethiopia where he met a coffee farmer named Dukale. Seeing the challenges farmers faced, low wages, unfair trade practices, Jackman decided to act. Laughing Man Coffee was born as a fair trade business, ensuring farmers got a just share of profits. Even better, Jackman donates all his profits from the company to charitable causes through the Laughing Man Foundation, supporting education, community development, and social entrepreneurship. It's not just branding, it's impact. But coffee is just the start. Jackman has supported a wide range of causes, from children's health to fighting poverty. He's a global advisor for World Vision, a Christian humanitarian organization that helps communities worldwide. He has narrated documentaries raising awareness for global inequality, and has donated millions to charities both in the U.S. and abroad. Unlike some celebrities who treat philanthropy as PR, Jackman genuinely rolls up his sleeves. He travels, meets communities, and puts in the time. He's also known for small acts of generosity that never make headlines. Fans have shared stories of Jackman paying for meals, supporting fundraisers, or quietly visiting hospitals. In one instance, he surprised a group of New York students by joining their class discussion after learning they were studying his Broadway work. For him, giving back isn't about grand gestures, it's about human connection. What makes his philanthropy stand out is how it mirrors his personality. Hugh Jackman is charismatic, approachable, and empathetic. His giving feels authentic because it matches how he carries himself. Americans admire when celebrities don't just flaunt wealth but actually invest it in something meaningful. Jackman checks that box in spades. And let's not forget the cultural weight of his charity work. Coffee is a daily ritual for millions of Americans. By linking something as ordinary as coffee to a global mission, Jackman turned everyday purchases into acts of kindness. Fans didn't just buy coffee, they bought into a vision of fairness and hope. Philanthropy is often the measure of a legacy. Movies fade, but the lives you change endure. Hugh Jackman may have Guinness records, Tonys, and Oscars on his shelf, but his lasting impact could very well be the schools built, the farmers supported, and the families lifted by his generosity. That's not just a star, that's a role model. 2. He's a fitness machine with relentless discipline. When you look at Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, you probably think, that guy was born with that body. But here's the truth. It was built through sheer discipline, not luck. Jackman wasn't always ripped. In fact, during his early acting days in Australia, he had a lean, athletic frame, but nothing like the shredded physique we saw on screen. When he was cast as Wolverine, he realized he had to transform. And he did, over and over again. Jackman's training became legendary in Hollywood. He adopted intense weightlifting routines, worked with personal trainers, and committed to strict meal plans. One of his most famous methods was intermittent fasting, long before it became trendy in America. He ate within an 8-hour window each day, balancing lean proteins, vegetables, and healthy carbs. His workouts were equally brutal: deadlifts, squats, bench presses, and endless pull-ups. But what made him stand out wasn't just the workouts. It was the mindset. Jackman trained like an athlete preparing for the Super Bowl. He tracked progress, adjusted programs, and embraced recovery as seriously as lifting. He once said, "If I'm not working out, I'm not Wolverine." That discipline turned him into one of the most believable superheroes ever seen on screen. And let's not forget, Jackman wasn't in his 20s when he started. He maintained this level of conditioning into his 40s and 50s, outlasting younger actors in stamina and strength. That inspired countless Americans who thought age was an excuse to slow down. His message was clear. With discipline, you can keep pushing limits at any age. Jackman's approach to fitness also showed balance. He wasn't just about vanity muscles. He focused on overall health, cardio, flexibility, recovery, and mental wellness. He often practiced yoga and meditation, proving that toughness and mindfulness go hand in hand. For fans, this wasn't just a superhero body. It was a lifestyle worth emulating. Number 1. He's the nicest guy in Hollywood. Out of all the facts about Hugh Jackman, the one that stands tallest isn't about Guinness records, Broadway triumphs, or even Wolverine. It's about who he is as a person. Over and over again, co-stars, directors, and fans have described him as the nicest guy in Hollywood. And they mean it. On film sets, Jackman is known for learning everyone's name, from producers to crew members. He thanks people individually, brings coffee for teams, and makes everyone feel part of the process. Anne Hathaway once said that working with him on Les Miserables felt like being in a master class on kindness. Ryan Reynolds, his longtime friend and playful rival, constantly jokes about how annoyingly nice Jackman is, calling him unfairly charming. Fans tell the same stories. Jackman doesn't brush people off at airports or events. He takes time, smiles, and genuinely listens. There are countless accounts of him signing autographs for hours, visiting children in hospitals without cameras, or pausing interviews to greet fans who waited outside in the rain. These aren't publicity stunts. They're consistent behaviors. What makes this fact even more powerful is how rare it is. Hollywood is filled with egos, scandals, and arrogance. Yet Jackman has managed to remain humble despite being one of the world's most recognizable stars. He attributes much of it to his upbringing in Australia, where his parents instilled values of humility and respect. He once said, "If you're the only star in the room, you're in the wrong room. Everyone contributes. Everyone matters." That attitude explains why his career has lasted so long. Fans don't just admire Hugh Jackman's performances. They admire Hugh Jackman, the man. And in the end, that's the most powerful legacy anyone can have. So there you have it. The top 10 facts about Hugh Jackman, a man who has lived multiple lives in one. He stumbled into acting by accident, almost lost the role of Wolverine dazzled on Broadway, built one of Hollywood's most inspiring marriages, battled cancer. Nearly lost his voice, broke Guinness records, gave back through philanthropy, transformed his body with relentless discipline, and somehow stayed the nicest guy in Hollywood through it all. Jackman isn't just a superstar. He's a reminder that success doesn't have to corrupt, that talent can be paired with humility, and that greatness is built through resilience, generosity, and heart. Whether he's singing on stage, fighting on screen, or smiling on the street, Hugh Jackman has proven he's more than an actor. He's a role model. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends who love amazing Hollywood stories. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next deep dive into the lives of the world's most fascinating stars. And if you really enjoyed it, join our community for exclusive content or drop a super thanks to support the channel. Every click, comment, and share helps us keep bringing you the stories behind the legends. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep celebrating greatness.